It's that time, kids. It's time to talk about The Shining. Directed by Stanley Kubrick, The Shining is often considered to be one of the greatest films of all time. And off the back of doing The Haunting sort of review, discussion type thing, I thought what I would do is I would talk. That's my computer make noises, obviously disagreeing with me. I thought I would do a little video on The Shining because it's often considered by a lot of people to be the best horror film ever made. I certainly think it's one of the best horror films ever made. I don't know if I would put it at number one. If I did put it at number one, it would have to be there with a bunch of other films. So, as I said in the previous film, for me, I'd probably pick The Haunting over any other horror film as far as what I think is the best horror film ever made. Anyway, so, but it's a classic, and it's not just one of the best horror films ever made, it's one of the best films ever made. And Stanley Kubrick, the director, what he does is, if you look at his films, he didn't make very many films, but whenever he did, he would go into a new genre, something completely different, a complete departure from what he'd done previously, and would just turn the entire genre on its head, trying new things. And in many ways, that's what makes The Shining special. I know Stephen King thinks that. Well, I should mention that this is adapted from a Stephen King novel, and I know Stephen King's not too keen on the film because it differs markedly from the book. And I know Stephen King, he's written that he thinks that that Stanley Kubrick, because he wasn't involved in the horror genre, basically made a lot of mistakes in making this film. I don't agree with that at all. As much as I'm a massive Stephen King fan, I think Stanley Kubrick hit the ball out of the park with this one. So what's it about? Well, it's about a family who go to look after a hotel that shuts down for the winter season. And the family consists of Jack, the father, his wife, and their son, who I think is about 7 or 8 maybe. Cue comments where I completely got his age wrong. And what happens is that Jack's been given a job to as the caretaker, the janitor, to look after the Overlook Hotel, which is out in the mountains. And what happens is that often the hotel gets cut off by the horrendous weather out there. So sometimes there's snow and they're stuck there for weeks and weeks on end, sometimes months. But they need someone there to look after, just look after, do some repairs, keep the boilers going, just to maintain the building basically over the winter season. But we're set up with the idea that Jack's really wanting to do it because it'll be peace and quiet. I think it's a few months of peace and quiet, and he will get time to write a book, which is what he really wants to do. Anyway, while they're there, you also find out that the young boy has something called The Shining, which is basically psychic ability. He picks up on vibes and images from the past, things like that, and he knows that there's something evil in this hotel. And what happens is the father descends into madness, and it's about that basically. And then you're left with the question, is it because of the hotel, or is he just mad anywhere and you've put him in an isolated place? So was he going to lose the plot in any case? So that's basically what it's about. The problem with talking about this film is that Stanley Kubrick was really into symbolism, and his films are multi-layered, so when you actually watch them you start to pick up different things in them, and then you realise that the film's not really about what you think it's about, and then you see new things and it changes your opinion once again. So it's really difficult to actually sum this film up. I mean, there's been books written on this film, that's how complicated it is. The plot's not complicated to follow, but just the meaning behind the film is open to real different types of interpretation, much like another Kubrick film, 2001: A Space Odyssey. So it's, I suppose you would say it's a haunted house film. The hotel is the haunted house, and you've got these 3 people, well, the 2 parents and the child, stuck in this massive environment with all of these just massive amounts of rooms, and it's just a huge hotel, so it's quite creepy. It takes on quite a menacing sort of feeling to the place, vibe to the place. So there's so much about this film to admire. The camera work's phenomenal. I think it was one of the first uses, if not the first use, of the Steadicam. At least the way they used the Steadicam was revolutionary in this film. And everybody's performances, Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, they're phenomenal. And Danny Lloyd as well, who plays the son. So the performances are fantastic, and the soundtrack is amazing. The soundtrack infers certain things about the film. There's a great analysis of The Shining online by Rob Ager. Does a really great analysis of what everything means in the film. I would check it out, really would, but I'm not going to go into all that because I can't do that as well as he can. So yeah, it's very frightening in places, but it's a slow burner. There's people normally talk about one specific scene where Jack goes into this room where there's all it says the room's haunted, and yeah, it's pretty horrific. And the whole thing is just incredibly put together. It is one of the best horror films ever made, and I really would recommend it, especially if you like haunted house films, because it's got a different vibe to it than most haunted house films. It's got a different vibe to it than most horror films because Stanley Kubrick liked to turn things on its head, and it's a film you never really grow tired of. I would like to say I used to be pretty pretentious about this film. My friends know that I initially didn't like it. Well, I wanted to not like it because I was like, I read the book and the book's really great, and oh, they've changed it, what's the point of changing it? You can't take that approach when you watch this or any other film based on a book. It's an adaptation. There's things that they'll do in the film. The film is something else. If you want just specifically the book, go read the book. So it does differ markedly from the book, but they're both fantastic in their own rights. The Stephen King book's amazing, and this is incredible. So definitely check it out. I think that's it. Bye for now.